Well, hello everyone. I'm Rachel Tessman from stampyourartout.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from Andover, Minnesota in the US, and I'm here to bring you a live paper crafting class. This is a special one today. Not only are we going to feature more paper pumpkin kit alternatives, but I'm involved in a blog hop. It is Wednesday, May 27th at 11 a.m. Central Time as I'm coming to you live. 27th, 2026. Sorry, forgot to add the year. And this blog hop is all about the Phrases and Frames stamp set. My upline is Susan Cantfield. She has been a demonstrator for longer than I have. I don't know how many years, longer than 26 plus, which is what I have. And anyways, signed up with her years ago, and we have connected, made this wonderful friendship, and she is amazing. If you have not seen her blog yet, you want to go to SueStampfield.com. And Susan Camfield is super creative. She really focuses in on fun folds lately in her business and creates amazing cards. Well, she achieved her million in sales and was able to create this amazing stamp set called Phrases and Frames, and it has debuted in the May through August 2026 catalog. So, and actually it's partnered, it's bundled with Phrases and Frames dies. So you can get both of them and save 10%. I'm going to feature just the stamp set today, even though the combo together makes crazy amazing cards. In fact, if you follow the blog hop, you'll be able to see cards that feature both the dies and the stamp set. If you want to get to the blog, you want to go to the description in my video, and right within the first paragraph, I believe there's a link to my blog post. And when you go through the blog post and you read through it and you see all the cards that I'm creating today, the videos linked in there, all kinds of things, right? Then you're going to scroll to the bottom, and towards the bottom, you can see a list of the other blog hop participants. I think there's 5 of us that are participating in this. And then you can click on their blogs and you can see the different cards. We're also doing an Instagram hop. I did not participate in that because just, trying to balance things out. But there's also an Instagram hop, so you can follow that as well. And I'm guessing you could probably get to that within one of the other gals' blog hops, either V or Susan. I'm trying to think who else was participating in that. I know I think Trisha was in it. Trisha, I think so. I shouldn't say that out loud just in case you're not, but so fun. You'll want to check it out. Okay, so we have lots to share today, and a big congrats, by the way, to Susan Cantfield. I do need to put the disclaimer in there that less than 1% of demonstrators achieve these higher things, and so just want to make sure that I put that out there so that we are following the rules. Okay, let's go down to the desktop and take a peek at this particular kit that I'm going to feature today. I believe this was the last I did 2 lives last week. But anyways, we did some first alternatives with this. This is second, and I'm actually thinking I'm going to be creating a third set because I only did 3 cards today. And you guys know that I love to create with these kits. When we were creating the last time on the last live, we noticed that the stamps are pretty limited as far as sentiments go in this kit. Now, if you're a past Paper Pumpkin subscriber or you have a collection of stamp sets in your room, no worries. But the Phrases and Frames stamp set is like a perfect addition to this particular kit because we have, like all year round type of phrases in here, but we also have like celebration, birthday. I mean, this is a celebratory kit. We have anniversary in here. May your day, like some general things like may your day be filled with happiness, sending you hugs. But also, I don't know if you guys know this, but paper lanterns, whether they're floating on water or going up in the air, in a lot of different cultures, countries, it's a tradition to release paper lanterns, not only as celebratory, but sometimes on occasions to cherish or celebrate someone's life who has passed. So almost like, funeral type of usage, right? So there are some stamps in here that are basically sending you prayers and heartfelt sympathy to your family, but you could combine that with the paper lanterns, right? So lots of fun things that we're going to do today. We're going to be using that stamp set. We're going to be using the kit. What else do I want to tell you before we begin? I have inspiration that I want to link to give credit to certain people who inspired these ideas. This is the kit, by the way. It's parts and pieces now. You get a stamp set within, like you saw on the back of the direction little pamphlet here. This is the direction sheet that you get within your paper pumpkin kit. You get inks, you get a stamps and an ink pad. You get adhesives. We have like little mini dimensionals in here, embellishments. We also have a roll of the tear and tape, and then you get all the consumable pieces. I have like 2 kits worth that I've gone through so far to create some alternates. We have the pieces pulled already, so I am not going to even, I'm going to pull the stamp set out, but I'm not going to even dive into the kit box per se itself, because I think I have everything pulled that I need. But let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to keep my grid paper still this time. And we're going to pull out the first card that we're going to create. So this is a little happiest birthday wishes card, which you could also change the sentiment to be anniversary. I am going to walk you through how to do this. Let's see here. So that's the first card. You ready? Let's dive in. And by the way, again, this is my website, stampyourartout.com. So if you want to, you can go there now. Again, there's a link in the description of my video. You can see all of these cards already, like in photographs, before the video starts going. I do not have a PDF paired with this video. When I do multiple projects like this, especially with paper pumpkin kits, I don't have a PDF or written measurements in my blog post. So you'll want to watch the video to get all the directions that you'll need, okay? We're going to take 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and we are going to cut it in half at 5.5 inches. So I'm bringing it into my trimmer, keeping this edge of my paper flush with the top. You can also use the bottom of your trimmer, which also has like a little ledge here, if that's more comfortable to you. And then you use the dark blade and you push it through to cut. Now what I like to do, and I haven't mentioned this in a long time, but you have a scoring and a cutting blade on your trimmer. And what I like to do is mark this blade when it gets older on 1/2. So I'm always a pusher when I cut. I like to push against my cardstock so that it doesn't move on me. And in time, if you're going in the same direction with your blade, it's going to get dull on one side. It's kind of like a V-shaped blade. And so one side's going to get duller. So then what you do is you bring it down into this little slot here. There's like a little hole opening. You bring it out, you flip it around, and then you can mark, just mark the blade to share that you've flipped it around. And that way, and this one has not been flipped around yet, but that way you'll know that one side is dull and the other side, you're on your second side already. So it doesn't matter where you mark it, just mark it so that you know you've used 1/2, flip it around, and then continue to use the other half. And that way you'll use the most of your blades. We're gonna now score this cardstock. So we're gonna use the light blade, which I have identified with the word score on mine because it makes it a little bit easier for me to remember in case I forget which one's the scoring blade and which one's the cutting blade. And so I just took a Sharpie marker and I wrote score on it. We're gonna bring it to the 4 1/4 mark, and now we're gonna press down, and that blade is only like a rounded blade that sticks out. It's not sharp, so it won't cut your cardstock in half. We've got our card base. You can make 2 cards from one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. Then if you'd like to, you can use a tool like a bone folder, back of a butter knife, whatever, to help give that crease a really nice crisp fold. We're gonna bring in some pieces from the card kit. We have this card base here, which is gorgeous. And we're gonna cut it in half so that we only have this portion of the card. This other portion we're gonna save for another card that we're gonna do. So I'm gonna set that over here. We've cut it in half, and now we're gonna go ahead and cut this down to, and we're gonna cut it in this direction because we're actually gonna use our card base vertically. So we're gonna cut it in this direction, and I think I'm gonna cut it this way, and I'm gonna cut a piece that is 3 inches deep here. Okay. The lines on here are fairly faint. They are little strings that the little light bulbs were on in the original card, but they're fairly faint. So hopefully it's not something that's too noticeable on this card. And I chose this piece because I thought it would work best on this card. So we're gonna use that. And then we're also gonna take the envelope and we're gonna cut it open. So we're gonna cut off the 2 sides. And we're just cutting a 1/16 of an inch off. So I'm just kind of covering up the dark channel of my trimmer to trim off that 1/16 of an inch. And I saw that Susan was saying I have a hard time getting my blade out of the track. Remember, the hole is down, oops, can't see it. There's a wider opening down here. And what I do is I kind of angle it like an airplane. So as I'm lifting it out, I tip it and make it kind of fly outward. Okay? And then when you bring it in, same thing as if you're landing an airplane. That's the best tip I have for you, is to angle it to kind of glide it in and glide it out. Okay, we're gonna open this up. We now have lots of pretty designer paper. We're gonna cut it right here. And then this piece, I think I'm gonna cut that now too. I'm gonna trim off the fold. So I'm gonna cover that dark channel of the trimmer. We've got that crease done. We're gonna cut at 3 1/4 inches. So I'm bringing the, oh, sorry about the, we have some adjustments going on with the camera, sorry. 3 1/4 inches, we're gonna bring that flat edge there. That's gonna get the most of the back side of our paper here. And then we're going to, or back side of our envelope, then we're gonna cover up about a 1/2 inch over on this side of the trimmer. Oh, we're still having that going on. You guys, this is crazy. Hang on a minute. Cover your eyes. I'm going to just give it a wipe on my camera lens. See if that helps. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, we're going to cut that off, and that removes any little extra portions on the back side of the envelope here. We're going to turn it, and we're going to cut it 4 1/2 inches on this side. So we're removing more than a 1/2 inch now over here. And I have to use my snips, or my detailed scissors. We have a new scissors coming out, you guys. Oh my goodness. Are we going to just have camera problems? Wowza. I guess I have to go backwards a little bit. I know, we've been having those lately, haven't we? Maybe I just need to just invest in a new phone. This is the new detailed scissors. It looks very much the same as our old paper snips. And it cuts just the same in my mind too. So that is releasing on July 1st. So stay tuned. Here we have a layer for our card that is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. Remember, this piece was 4 1/4 by 3. And then we need another layer from here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it, I don't know, let's just cut like an 1 1/4 off from this end. Okay, I think that'll give us enough orange and red together. So you can discard that, use that for another card. Then we're gonna flip it around, and I have to measure. I forgot to measure this piece, 2 inches. We're gonna cut at 2 inches. And we're gonna use that for some other card in the future. And then we're gonna take this piece, and I'm gonna make sure, yep, it's 2 inches. And I believe it's 3 in the other direction. Yes, 3 in the other direction. So now I'm gonna go ahead and cut, and I think I'll use this side, 3 in the other direction. So we have a 2 by 3 inch rectangle with the color going in this direction. Okay, let me move these out of the way. The other pieces from the kit will be this piece that goes with the window card. It's kind of like the ledge. We're gonna flip it around and use it in this direction. We're gonna use one of the punch outs from one of the window cards. It's a small little rectangle. And then instead of reaching for crushed curry cardstock, which you could also use your envelope or your leftover card or whatever has that orangey color on it. I don't know if the card necessarily does, but this one would be a good choice. Even in here, you can use that same color. I'm just gonna go ahead and use crushed curry because I have it. And we're gonna punch out with our Bee Builder punch, a couple hearts like you saw in the other corners. So we've got 1, 2, and then I'll put this punch away. If you don't have the Bee Builder punch and you want to save some money, I don't have autofocus on, Donna. I don't know what it is. I think it's just blurry camera, but I swear I don't have autofocus on. I hope, but I'll check. And then let me think here. Unless it got turned on when I didn't know it. You know how sometimes you press buttons and you don't even know you're doing it? If you don't have the heart builder or the bee builder punch, you can just take and cut the shape that we're going to be doing. It's a teardrop shape. So we're going to take this little guy here and we're going to cut from the top of the heart. Can you see the top of the heart there? Maybe I do have autofocus on. And we're going to take and just continue that cut right down the middle to get this teardrop look. Okay, next, we're going to flip it over and we're just going to round out what we have left. So we have this, oops, let me get my scissors on there. You might have to use a tweezers to hold on to this tiny little piece. I'll go ahead and do that. So then you're going to take and you're just going to round out that little part here and continue the teardrop up. So now you have 2 teardrops from 1 heart. If that's too tough, you can cut out or punch out 3 teardrops, or 3 hearts, I should say. Or again, just fussy cut it yourself so that you're getting that shape. And we'll do this one really quick. Okay, we have 3 of those. This little piece here is going to get cut into skinny little strips. I am cutting it just under 1/4 inch, but if you want to, you can cut 1/4 inch, you can cut whatever size you want. You can even like hand cut this with your scissors. We just want some skinny strips that are approximately the same width. And if you have trouble holding it in place, you can always use like a sticky note. Mine is staying there, but you could use a sticky note, press that down onto your paper so that your paper doesn't move on you. So now we have some skinny strips and 2 more pieces. We need just a really, really thin strip, 1/8 inch of silver foil. And I'm going to go to this first line here. It actually will measure 1/8 inch strip here for us. And the width of this that we want is larger than this base piece. So you can see I've already cut it a little bit longer than the base piece, so we should be good to go on that because I can always trim that up. And then we need like a table, okay? So I grabbed this Wood Grain Wonders paper from the Wood Grain Wonders bundle of designer paper. We've cut it to 4 1/4 inches wide, and then I'm going to cut it to, we'll just go a little over 2 1/2 inches, because 2 1/2 plus 3 is 5 1/2. And if we have just a little bit over, then we can kind of overlap them so that we don't have a seam. So I'm just going to go a little over 2 1/2 in that direction. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of my little scrap pieces into my recycling. We've got everything ready to go. The last couple pieces that we need from this kit, and I better pull them out too, are some fun little explosion pieces. I forgot to grab them. Okay, so we'll grab 3 of those. 1, 2, 3. Now the kit does come with ink. It comes with Misty Moonlight ink in a little tiny spot. This is the color in the larger ink pad style, but we are going to be using a different color today. We're going to be using Early Espresso because we're making a cake. I wanted chocolate frosting lettering on my cake. We're going to bring in the Stampin' Positioner. The Stampin' Positioner, yay! Let's pull that over. I have it set up already on my positioner, the stamp that I want to use, which is Happiest Birthday Wishes from the Phrases and Frames stamp set. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. And I'm going to lift off the little platform thing. So I already set it up. I have my extra magnets on here. You can get extra magnets on, you guys. It's awesome. This is the grid paper. You can buy grid paper. You can get magnets that comes with 2 magnets, but no grid paper, so you'll want to invest in grid paper if you want that. Let's grab our cake piece, and I want the dark coloring on the top, and I'm going to lay that in the middle here. I think that's where I've positioned it. Let me look again to make sure. Yes, that looks right. Okay, so I have it positioned here. Now, what if I didn't have the stamp already on my platform? I would lay the stamp on here uninked, place it where I want it, then put this platform on top, press it, and lift up the stamp. This plasticky cover here will lift up the photopolymer stamp and have it right in the place that you want it. The grid lines that are on the Stampin' Positioner help you to know that you're, getting everything nice and straight. So what I also did is I used some temporary adhesive underneath here. There's a little bit on this spot, and that is just holding in place my paper a little bit more, because the magnets, even though they're strong, with a tiny thin piece like this, they like to still move. The paper likes to still move a little bit. So I've got my magnets on there. I'm going to ink it up with Early Espresso ink. So I'm taking my ink and going upside down onto my stamp, like that. Now, if you don't have a really juicy ink pad, the nice thing about a Stampin' Positioner is your paper stays in place and you can add more ink. Let's say you missed a spot. You can add more ink, then you can stamp it down again. And it'll stamp in that same spot every time. And now I have a deeper, darker, chocolatey colored piece. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off with a little chamois here. I'm gonna wipe off my ink. And we're gonna move to another color, and it's actually not a color, it's Versamark ink. We're gonna add Versamark ink to this stamp. So what we have now, right now, is the classic water-based ink, which dries pretty darn fast on cardstock. But I want a sticky clear ink that sits there for a while. So we can take any color of ink this way, ink up Versamark on top, re-stamp over the top. So now we're making a sticky little surface of ink on top of our brown. Lift that up, pull this away. We can take our Embossing Editions toolkit. Let's pull that in. With the toolkit, you get this tray, you get the tweezers, you get the brush, you get the embossing buddy, which I never use because my hands are never sticky. And I'm gonna grab from the Basics Wow powders. This is Basics Wow. I'm gonna grab my clear. This is my clear gloss. Tap it, make sure the powder's at the bottom, open it up over your tray, and sprinkle that on. So now our brown ink, our Early Espresso ink, that wouldn't hold embossing powder, now is holding embossing powder, and I'm sorry again for the blurriness. I will have to look that up and see if there's a setting, but I don't know why it's doing it. Okay, so there we go. I think it's really because my phone is failing. Maybe it's because I want to get a new phone. All right, so we're gonna set that aside so that we don't have the powder in front of us, we don't have the ink in front of us. We're gonna bring in a heat tool, and I'm gonna just turn it on for a while just to get the heat going. The other two cards, by the way, are gonna go a little faster. We're just gonna turn it on to get the heat going. I'm gonna put this into my tweezers so I can hold it. And then we can heat on top. We can heat from underneath. And you can already see the color changing, can't you? See, isn't that cool? So let's just go ahead, go directly on top. We are heating that up. We're getting a clear, shiny surface on our brown ink. And now we have what looks more like a frosting. And of course, it's blurring up on us. What looks more like a frosting to us. I wonder too, if it could be, Donna, thank you for that suggestion earlier, if it could be like my app made a change too, the app for doing the lives. I'll have to look into this because this is happening way too much today. Let's take our base. Let's add our base piece. We're gonna use just seal adhesive, or you could use the tear and tape that's in your kit. Now this alternate is a little more elaborate than a lot of the alternates that I do typically. But this is one that thinks outside the box and has quite the unique look to it compared to what you originally would think of when you look at the kit, right? So we're just gonna Oh, and you know what? You have two sides to this, by the way. I still think I like the darker side. So yeah, so don't worry about if you're a Paper Pumpkin subscriber that you have to buy a ton of tools, but hopefully you can take these ideas and roll with them and just do a simpler version if you don't have everything. Like I said, instead of a bone folder, you could use the back of a butter knife, you know, all kinds of things like that. We're gonna put adhesive on the backs of these. This card is basically all flat. There's no dimensionals to it. Let's take those pieces. Let's grab our birthday cake. And we're going to position this about a half inch above the counter, the table here. So I'm going to turn this over. We're going to put adhesive all along the back side here. And we're going to put this down, making sure all our adhesive is to the back. Somehow that one got whipped around to the front. So about a half an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch from the top of that table. This is our table. And now we have our cake sitting on there. Not on a tray yet, but it will be. And you can see how far down it is from the top. Then we're going to take these guys. Oh, and I should have done this first. Let's take these guys, all three of them. So where's my third one? There's always something that disappears, isn't there? Okay, well, we'll take two of them for now. And we're gonna flip them over. And this is the way I like to do my adhesive when I have skinny pieces. I put them side by side, and then I can lift them up, peel them into two separate pieces, and we're ready to roll. So I'm gonna lift just a little tip of that edge up, tuck in the middle one first, and make sure it's pretty centered. That looks good. And then I'll take one of these and I'll stick it behind so it's about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch up from the top of that stick. That is becoming a candle, as you can see. Then we're going to angle this one in. We're going to push it down a little bit further. Hang on. And that one's going to go in, and you could trim off the top if it won't push in as far, which I'm going to go ahead and do. And then we'll tip this down next to it with about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch away. And then that other one is somewhere. We won't worry about it now. For the flames, I recommend using multi-purpose liquid glue. So that's what this looks like. You could also use glue dots that come in past paper pumpkin kits, but I've transferred it to a precision tip bottle, so it makes it a little bit easier. We're gonna put the glue down in there. And I like to also keep my glue upside down in little containers. This is by the Country Hive. Gotta love their holders. I'll grab my Take Your Pick tool, which has a gummy end on it. Squeeze it into a sticky little mess at the bottom there. Lift it up by just pressing onto it and sticking my flame, sticking my flame down like that. And then this one, same thing, sticking the flame down, and somehow I got something sticky on there. There we go. So you can see how this is building up. This piece here, I'm going to use my precision tip bottle, and I'm going to go all along the edge here, or the back, with just a super thin line of glue. Flip it down. I'm going to bring in the Stampin' Pierce mat just for a little contrast here. And we're going to put this at the bottom. This is now the bottom. This is becoming the plate for our cake. So we have our cake plate, then we have a mass load of frosting on the top of that, which is at the base of your cake. This is going to go onto the base of your cake, centered, like so. And then we also need more frosting. And more frosting becomes it gets added with using pearls. I just love the look of the pearls. So let me show you. This, by the way, gets stamped on the inside. Let's go ahead and do that now. I've got my stamp ready. Have a fabulous day. We're just gonna ink it up with regular early espresso ink. You can do the embossing step if you want to, but I'm just gonna go ahead and stamp it straight on. And this gets added to the, look at that. There's my third one. Wish I had the stick under there. I don't know where the stick went to. The little candle. We'll add that here. For the frosting, we're gonna use pearls, the iridescent pearl basic jewels. Now you will go through a lot of them, but sometimes you have to sacrifice a lot of embellishments in order to get the look you want. So we're gonna go ahead and squeeze this little end here, and we're gonna start, and I believe I started in the middle. Yes, I did. At the top, I started in the middle with one right on top, kind of going over the cake half and the candle half with one pearl, the large pearl. And then I did a couple other large pearls to the right and to the left, and then I started getting smaller and smaller. So I had just a little bit of dolloped frosting at the top of the cake. Then I went along the bottom and I did the same thing, only I went back and forth with large, oops, I lost one. Large, small, large, small, large, small. I'll have to fill that in with another small one. We'll just do that right now. So they don't come as a little stream. Sometimes you can get embellishments. They're just like a row of pearls or a row of rhinestones. Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell them that way, but you can create it if you're patient and you want to take the time to do that. So I just started on the outer halves, and then because I didn't want to measure to the middle. So I started on the outer halves and I just kind of built my way in and figured out what I could fit in the very middle, and it happened to be a large pearl. So that is the finished card for our first alternate. All right, let me go to the next card. So we'll just bring this stuff out of the way, and I will find that candle piece and finish that card later. Okay, we're gonna move on to the second card, and the second card is also using some embossing. Oh, by the way, if you're gonna cut into your envelopes, you'll want to reinvest in some envelopes, and Stampin' Up! Sells the basic white medium envelopes. And I also wanna show you this amazing way that I am now storing my Stampin' Positioner. So I just leave my magnets in place, and then you can see it's got like this detachable little piece here if you wanna detach that. But that will hold my grid paper. This here, if I follow the little prong, the openings there, this will hold my positioner. Let me just shift that over. And then I've got my platform and my other little platform here, and everything holds nice and neat on this tiny little holder, and I can stand it up behind me next to my vase back there. Can you see that? So I can just keep it out of the way and ready to go, and it's all vertical. It doesn't take up a ton of room that way. We're gonna leave it there because I don't think I need it for the other cards. That is from the Country Hive. The glue holders and the stamp positioner dock is from the Country Hive. Let's do this next card. This next card is a Z-fold card. We're gonna start with some Blackberry Bliss cardstock. And the Blackberry Bliss cardstock is a half a sheet of cardstock with a little bit of embellishments on there already from something dusty. Well, we're gonna cover that up anyways. You guys don't even see it, I bet. 5.5 by 8.5, and it's scored halfway, like we did the other one, 4 1/4 inches. But I also scored the front part halfway. So I scored at 4 1/4, but I also scored at 2 1/8. And that gives us the Z-fold look. The next piece that we're gonna use is from the large card kit base. We're gonna cut this in half for one card and in half for another. So this half I saved for this card, and this half I used for the sample that you'll see. So they'll be slightly different. Cut this off right through the score line, and then you get this piece that measures 4 1/4 by 5.5. We're gonna cut it into two pieces. One of them is 1 3/4 inches wide, and one of them is 2.5 inches wide. They're both 5.5 inches tall. So here's one piece, and here's the other. That's a sticky Post-it note. This skinnier piece is actually going to swap sides. It's going to go over here, and this one's going to come over here, and it's going to go a little bit beyond where it can sit. So when you're putting adhesive on, we're going to be very careful. Another piece that we need is 2 1/8 by 5.5, and that's going to be where we write on the inside of our card. And then we need a tiny little sentiment piece that is 1 1/8 by 2 3/8. You can make it quarters if you don't like eighths, but this is the size that I chose for the sentiment piece. We're going to turn this over. Oh, first I want to stamp. That's what I forgot the last time, and then it was really hard. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and connect these, even though that's not how they connect. Doesn't matter. Grab some grid paper. I know I have some on my table, but we want to keep that nice and white so it's not distracting when we're taking things away. So I've got my paper. Let's say I've connected it, or let's say I haven't even cut it in half yet. I'm going to grab the color that comes in the kit. This is the Misty Moonlight color that comes in the kit. And we're going to ink up one of the stamps that come in the kit. This is the little tree or bush or whatever you want to call it. Peel that off the plastic. Grab a block. You do get a block with your first kit. When you become a subscriber of Paper Pumpkin Kits, you get a clear block that looks more like this. Doesn't matter, it's just a little skinnier and not as ergonomic, but it still works, and it's about the same size as this one, and it works with all your future stamps. But over time, you'll probably collect some blocks, or you might get into the kids collection kits, and then you get free blocks within those kits, because anytime you buy a kids collection kit, it comes, if it has stamps, it comes with a block. So then you can build up your blocks over time and have a ton of the ones that I just showed you. But we're going to ink it up into our Misty Moonlight. Again, this is the larger version of the ink that you get in the kit. And we're just going to stamp some trees. And this is Misty Moonlight, but because it's being stamped onto yellow, it's going to take and dry more of a green color. So we're going to stamp a couple bushes or treetops, whatever you want to consider these, down here, and it really fills up that lower space. In fact, we'll just go right over the top of the two pieces so that we have some extending into that piece. And then because this is a coated kind of cardstock, the kit cardstock's a little more unique. We're going to use some tissue, and we will just, I'm going to put that up here. We will just do like a little blotting. I do want to thank, I forgot to thank some of you for being here. We have some special people. First of all, we have our moderator, Trisha Joseph. She's here, and she's the one who is answering everybody's questions. If you haven't noticed yet, she sends links. She puts links in there. She gives you all kinds of helpful advice as you're watching the live video. So thank you to Trisha Joseph for being here. We have those pieces done. Thank you to my YouTube members. By the way, my YouTube members, I've already finished the card that we are going to make on Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time of this week. So just in 2 days, we're going to be making this card together. So a big thank you to Ashley Van Camp, who influenced this style. And that's also using the Phrases and Frames stamp set. So you'll want to check that out. Okay, let's go to these pieces again. Let's start adding them. The skinny one goes next. And then I also want to give a shout out to my subscribers. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. You don't have to pay to be a subscriber, so anybody can do it. If you have a YouTube or Google account, you can subscribe to my channel. You can also then change your notifications that you get notified when I'm going live. If you're a blog subscriber, you can also get notifications that way of when I'm sharing. I am going to adjust one of these. This one got put on here a little too far off to the right in the bottom. Okay. So we have those pieces there, and if you want to, you can flip it over. If you have any excess, you can just trim it off. We're going to add this piece next. This is going to go only up to that score line. You see how I added the adhesive there? It's only up to the score line, not over, and I'm not going up to the top or bottom. On this one, we're going to flip it over, and we're going to put the adhesive just here. Okay, so we have it just on that left side or the back of the left side, and we're going to add that with about 1/8 of an inch. So we're being consistent. We have 1/8 of an inch over here. We have 1/8 of an inch of Blackberry Bliss on here. When we place that down there, keeping your card open and flat, This should be in alignment with the top of the card, and this should be in alignment with the bottom. And then when you open it up, there would be no adhesive on here. So you can close it. It overlaps the other piece, which is great. That's what we wanted. We're going to stamp on this sentiment piece with Memento. Memento is leaving us. If you like Memento ink, you'll want to grab that up. I think it's actually on sale in the US. Inking up our sending prayers and heartfelt sympathy to you and your family. And we're going to stamp that so you can see better. We'll just put this underneath. We're going to stamp that onto this small rectangle, like so. And this piece, we're going to let dry a little bit just in case there's any need to, but we'll just set that over here. Memento dries fairly quick onto basic white cardstock. Again, this is basic white. We have a lantern. Okay, so this is what we're going to do next. We're going to place this on here, place this on here so it's centered, and we're just going to eyeball it. We're going to place everything where we want it to go. And this one is going to go like right about here. So we're going to hold on to it, bring it over, and that looks pretty good. I think because this space has kind of nothingness in it, we're going to stamp up there too. So let's take out another stamp from the kit. Here it is, stamp set. We're going to grab this one that has little stars. We'll mount that onto a smaller block, but you can mount it onto any size block you want. We're going to ink that up with Versamark ink. Tap, tap, tap. And we're going to stamp that up in here. Close this up, move it out of the way. Grab our, well, because that one still has some powder in it, I'll just grab this piece here. This is a folded piece of paper, and now I'm bringing in metallics. The metallics, wow, we're gonna use the silver because there's silver foiling on these cards. So I'm just gonna grab my silver, and I probably should have done this before I adhered, but that's okay, it'll still work because I did it the last time this way. But we're gonna just sprinkle that onto the stars, tap off the excess, and we'll funnel this back in because I will probably forget to do that later, and then we'll have a mess. And we'll put that over here. Okay, now let's go ahead and use that heat tool again. So we're just filling in the space. If you want to, there are other lantern pieces, but I use those on my other card. Okay, here we go. Heating that up, and by magic, it's so cool, you guys. Embossing is the best. Now we have these silver reflective little stars kind of carrying over. This piece is gonna go here with dimensionals on just the left half. So let's flip that over, take some dimensionals out, put them on the left half. And again, we'll lay it down. We'll bring this in here. We'll check to make sure it works, and then we'll put this piece down, and we're going to do dimensionals on the left back half. 1, 2, and then I'm also going to put 2 more dimensionals right on this edge. Oops, 1 there and 1 there, and that's where this is going to get placed. And so now I don't have to worry about where it goes on the back of the sentiment piece. It's on the card already, and it's not going to go beyond. So there is that. The other one looks like this. So you can see I used the 2 smaller lanterns on this piece, like that, and the larger lantern on this piece. So those are the other, the second style card. The last style card. Let's bring it in. We're going fast, you guys. All right, we're using this card base again, but remember on the other card, the birthday cake or anniversary cake or whatever you want it to be, we use this top half. We're going to use the second half now of the card, and I'm going to pull that over here. So let's say I cut my card into pieces. I'm just going to put this down here so you can see how I cut to remove, and I removed, where is it? Here it is. I removed this piece. Okay, so I cut it in half. Then from here, I cut 4 inches in to remove this. And then I cut 3 inches down to remove this. We're only using a 3x4 piece on this. On the back side, I made a little grid. Thank you, everybody. I'm going so fast that I'm forgetting to look up and look at comments, but I will, I promise you. I'm gonna flip this over, and on the back side, we have a grid. So I measured out every inch on here and did like these little grid lines. So just marked 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then did little scores on here. And then I counted, I put numbers on here in a backwards fashion. Because when you flip it this way, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it kind of gives you an order of how they go. I want to thank VTran for this idea. Thank you, V, for this, so that I could give a little tip to those people who lose their puzzle pieces and then don't know how to put them back together. I think I've always taught you to just, you know, when you're going to cut a piece up into little pieces, I said just kind of like set it off to the side so it stays in order, right? So we're keeping everything in order. If you don't want to do the grid on the back, it's optional, but it is helpful. Oops. And here again, you could use like your, let me just pull this over. You could use this little guy here and keep your paper in place while you're trimming. Just a sticky note. Now we're going to flip it and we're going to turn it this way and cut 1 inches. So we're doing 1 inch squares, as you can see. I don't know the name of this pattern, but it's becoming super popular. If you're on any social media, Instagram, Facebook, if you're a demonstrator and you're looking on like the Demonstrator Planning Place on Facebook, which is a great resource, you're seeing lots of cards that are showing off this technique. I don't know who to give original credit to for this, but I know that I've seen the card idea recently. In fact, Karen Acevedo shared this card in her group, in our Stampers with Art Stars swap group. So we had a swap recently, and this is her swap card. Sneak peek for those of you who are on my team, because I'm sharing all the swap cards today. But that was Karen's. I'm gonna lay this out like that, and then we're gonna turn and cut this last one. So I'm just keeping mine in order. But again, if you get them out of order, you have your numbers on the back side if you did that. And there we go. Now I cut quick, so they're not exactly 1 inch by 1 inch, but it's close enough. All right, the next thing that you'll want to cut for your card is your base. You need a base. I'm choosing black. Is it called mosaic? I don't know. Sounds good to me. I never looked up the actual name. Maybe Karen wrote it on the back side. Shadow tile technique is what she called it. So we get different names for different cards, right? Then I have this piece, and this layer is 4 by 5 1/4, 4 by 5 1/4. I have 2 of them, one for the inside of the card and one for the outside. Then I have my next layer, which is going to be cut from one of our envelopes again. So you're going to need to replace the envelope with another basic white envelope. But we're going to cut that, and I've already cut one open and in half. So we did that slicing technique, cut it through here. We're going to take this piece here, and we're going to cut a layer that's slightly smaller than our white. So if our white is 4 inches, we're going to go to 3 7/8 right here. Can you see that? There we go. 3 7/8. And then if it's 5 1/4 inches in this direction, we're going to go back, and we're going to go to 5 1/8. Okay? This measurement is the same as another layer that we're going to have. I'm going to move these out of the way here because we're done with them. Okay, another layer that we're going to have also measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, but we're going to do some cutting. This is to make a little guide, but you need to start with the same size piece. The same size piece is crucial so that the guide when you cut it, will fit around or on top of this piece, okay? So we're gonna cut from the center. You're gonna trim an eighth, then you'll flip it this way, 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, okay? And you don't cut all the way through, obviously, you wanna keep it as a frame. So when you're cutting, you just go as close as you can to each edge so that you have an eighth, 1/4, and 1/4. Then we're gonna lay this on top, and I'm gonna use my Stampin' Positioner again because it is an awesome little tool with the magnets. Anything magnetic will help. It's an awesome little tool with the magnets. So I'm gonna lay these down together, stacked like, actually I'm gonna flip this around because this is gonna be the bottom. So I want my 1/8 of an inch to be on the left and the bottom. And I'm gonna lay this down on here so that everything is lined up. And I'm actually gonna put these guides in the middle. My magnets, I'm sorry. My magnets are gonna go in the middle. Like that, because we're gonna set the corner pieces first. Okay, can you see everything? We're gonna start with black. So I forgot to tell you, you also need black. And we're gonna need a scrap of white. So I've got all my pieces now already. This is the scrap of white for our sentiment, and then you need 12 black 1 inch by 1 inch squares. We're gonna take and glue or tape them into these corners. One there. Okay, and you start with the corners. If you start with the corners, it's gonna be so much easier. That's why this guide is here, to make it easy. Corner, corner, corner. And then for the next ones, you're gonna go edges, and you're gonna start with the edges where you just put one in between. So let's get that corner one in there. Okay, it's all lining up with these things. And now we're gonna take and do our, move this magnet out of the way. We're gonna set one over here so it's centered. It's flush against this little edge of the frame, and it's centered between the top and bottom. And as you can see, I did not cut these very accurately. We're gonna turn it in this direction. See if it's a better looking square. It's good enough. Okay, so there's that. Try to cut your squares evenly. It does look like a window pane or a quilt. Oh, reminds me of the window pane quilt pattern, Tina. Oh, okay, so there's an actual name for it. Move that one out of the way. So when you're making quilts, this is called the window pane pattern. Okay, good to know. I'm gonna put these back in place, and I'm gonna move them to the corners now. We've got the corners placed. Now for these pieces, you just wanna have 2 of them ready to go at the same time. 1, 2, and you're just gonna kind of add them in here so they're spaced evenly, like that and like that. Okay, then we'll do the same thing on the bottom. You guys are liking this? I'm so glad. It's a fun one. And I think with the guide, it really helps. So we'll place these down here. Probably can't see over the top of my hands. Sorry about that. And then the last 2. Now for the ones that go on top. So these are the shadows. And you can do that in any dark color. I just chose black. I suppose you could even do it in white. I mean, that might look kind of cool to have a highlight behind them instead of shadows. Flipping this one around. And then we have the images that go on top. So we're gonna move these away. We're gonna take this and, oops, sorry, didn't mean to flip it over. I meant to turn it. We're gonna turn it like this. So you're rotating. So now the 1/4 of an inch is gonna go here and here. And that's gonna go down like this. And then our 1/8 of an inch will be on the other places. Can you guys hear my son? All right, if you can't, that's fine, but it's making me giggle a little. Okay, so now we start with the 1, and that's gonna go up here. And do you see how this is coming together here. And then you're gonna start in the corner with number 4, or go to the next one, which is number 4, and you'll place that in here. And you're getting these little shadows happening. Number 9 goes down here, and number 12 goes over here. You don't have to add them in order. It's just the numbers are on the back to help you put them in order for when it's time to put your puzzle piece together. Oops, wrong one. We're gonna go with this one next. And that's gonna go over here, and you're just gonna shift it up about 1/8 of an inch away from where the bottom of the black edge is, so that it's centered between these two. You have 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. Okay, I'm not gonna do this whole thing here because I think you have the idea of it now, right? I'm gonna pull this away though so you can see how it's progressed so far. So you're getting that look. So cool, so gosh darn cool. And then the next and other thing that we have to do, besides layering all your pieces together, right? You have your layers. Here's my other one. You have your layers outside, inside. This is gonna go on top. Then we have our sentiment. So our sentiment piece is going to be created using the rounded rectangular punch, but you could just do a rectangle if you want to. I'm gonna go ahead and punch out, where is my ink color? I think I'm using black on this one too. Okay, so I've got my ink, I've got my stamp. I'm making this an anniversary one. This one would be fun for any celebratory thing though, but we're gonna stamp our anniversary. Then we're gonna take and turn our punch unlocked upside down, bring that to the bottom portion of the punch so that it looks like we're getting that sentiment on the bottom half. We're gonna punch it out. Then we're gonna take our sticky note and we're gonna put that right at the tippy top of that punch, like that. We're gonna put it back in here, and now we can position it using that Post-it note and line it up. Oops, make sure it's straight, and punch again. And now you have your skinnier little rectangle piece, and you end up with a card that looks like this. I put the sentiment on with a couple dimensionals back there. Happy anniversary, you could put an anniversary sentiment on the inside, but that's how you put together a card like that. Pretty darn fun. Let me pull these back in. We'll keep this one closed and set like this, and this one open, so you can check them all out. See them all at once. One more card. Happy birthday. There's our happiest birthday card. Fun stuff, right? And again, they all feature this amazing stamp set that works with it. Like every one of these images, I swear you could use with this kit because the kit imagery coordinates so well with them. All right, lots of fun alternates. I have some last minute things to share with you before we sign off. A big thank you to all of you for joining, by the way. This card that I'm going to share on Friday for my YouTube members only live, that's at 10 a.m. Central Time. And this is for my members that are at the supporter level that pay $5.99 a month. So make sure that you tune in. The live link will be there probably by tomorrow evening at the latest. I usually get it in there the night before. But it's using some in colors. I've got 2 in colors on here. I've got the hydrangea hue, and then I always say hydrangea hue. And then we also have the crisp cantaloupe in the butterflies. The butterflies are an in color set of embellishments, but the color of this pink here is actually Calypso Coral. So some of our colors just kind of like work well together. And then I'm also using, for this yellowish color, it's actually a green. It's a lemon lime twist. So I hope that you come back and visit for making this card together. Again, a big thank you to Ashley Van Camp for an idea that I saw of hers on Pinterest, and I just had to remake another version of it. I want to bring in these pads because in the month of May, which we are still in for just a few more days, you can get this collection, $63 value in the US, for free if you want to purchase the starter kit and become a discount shopper and join us on the demonstrator side of things. I'm so glad that you guys liked these ideas. Did I make all of these out of one paper pumpkin box? Thank you for that question. I did not. I have already dove into a second box, so I did, but I'm wondering if I could have. I cut and chop and like pieces are all over the place. I typically use a good portion of 2 kits when I do all of my alternates, but sometimes I go into 3. So I don't put my extra kits out there until I know what ones I've been using. I'm still working on my exclusive alternate, which is part of our Paper Pumpkin Creatives group. And there are so many amazing cards that are being created right now that I've seen in our creatives group. Those release on June 1st, and they can be purchased, but they are also free for those people who are subscribed to us as Paper Pumpkin subscribers. So if you got the May kit through me, you're going to get a link to the exclusives. And if you're on my team of demonstrators, you get access to my tutorials, All-Star, Paper Pumpkin, anything else like Craft Along, you get those for free too. Thank you for posting all of those links in there. Trisha, you are the best. I love you so much. We're going to see each other soon, Trisha. I'm so excited. Our garage sale is coming up. We have a garage sale happening, and we call it just a garage sale, which is what we've done all year long. We probably should call it paper crafting sale because it is filled with, I don't even know how many demonstrators are doing this year. Lots. This is the most we've ever had participating. And then we also have a food truck again this year, June 17th and 18th, Wednesday and Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. both days. You'll want to come. Like, people literally rent hotel rooms or they stay with friends and they drive hours to get to the sale because there's so much. So you'll want to make sure that you put that on your calendar. Subscribe to my website, subscribe to my newsletters so that you get all this information coming to you directly. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to share. I don't have my paper in front of me where I cheat. I look at my list. It's gone, you guys. It's gone. I think that's it. But I appreciate and love you all. So we will see my members this Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time. And then the rest of you will see you all, hopefully, next Wednesday for my next online paper crafting class. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. And now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.